This pattern moving into next week is going to feature the chance for severe weather across the south, and widespread flooding will be possible as some areas could get close to 7, 8, maybe even 9 inches of rain. And on the north side, it's a big snow. Hi, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice. Watching this pattern, here's a look at the storm fuel this week. We've got it bubbling up on two specific occasions, especially on Wednesday afternoon. There's a lot of storm fuel to be had across the south. And then again, the models are showing next weekend, big surge of some storm fuel that could lead to severe weather across many areas in the south. And on top of that, we've got a flood risk that is growing and big time snow from the New England area up through the northeast. We're talking some people measuring snow in feet. So if you're new to the channel, please let me know where you're watching from. Like this video, subscribe to whatever channel you're watching from right now, and turn on notifications. That's the best way to stay informed in these type situations. Let's look at the severe risk as it passes through the next 3 to 8 days, okay? So Monday into Tuesday, we've got a low pressure system that's developing toward Texas, okay? This is where the low is going to form, and it's got some level of severe weather. As we move forward, though, as we look at this Colorado State experimental severe weather outlook, this has been really useful and really on the money this year. I've really found it to be very helpful in my forecasting. Wednesday, as we look at all severe weather modes, that would be wind, hail, and tornado risks, we need to watch Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. But that lower risk here, that level 1 risk, does sneak up in here into the upstate of South Carolina through Atlanta. Now, Thursday, this front's actually crossing through, so you've got a couple of low areas, and then here we go again, almost an identical low pressure system forms over Texas and then tracks up here. Now, depending on the track of that low will determine if we get severe weather, but it looks like next Saturday, a week from today, we would be in a very similar situation as Wednesday the 12th. So what does that look like? Tuesday, this low is developing, okay? The track of that low, if it tracks up here like that, everybody on the south and east side of that's going to have the potential for severe weather. As we move forward here, let's look at Thursday. This front's now crossing through right here. A lot of the dynamics are going to the north, but there's still warm and unstable air down here. How about Friday into Saturday? Things look to be almost identical. This would be next Friday. Again, depending on the track of the low, Friday into Saturday, we could have severe weather trying to break out yet again. That's a pretty high mark from a computer model that's a week out showing, hey, the signals are so high this far out that we could have strong storms that we're going to go ahead and show there's a medium risk of severe weather, including isolated tornadoes. We had that, folks. We had that in Tennessee this week where there was a low to medium risk of severe weather, and there was an EF2 that unfortunately claimed the life of a mother and her daughter in East Tennessee. So really volatile and active air masses. That's what's coming our way over the next week. And by far, those of you watching right now in the Western Carolinas, as we're looking at this next week, yes, there's a chance for storms a couple of different times, but by far, the prolonged period of heavy rainfall is going to be what we need to keep an eye on. And I've got a brand new trusty European model to help us pinpoint the timing of all this. So we've got a system coming through on Sunday. Tomorrow is going to be the best day that we're going to have over the next 10 days, maybe even 14 days. So really enjoy it. 70s look to be likely across much of the south. It's going to be sunny in most locations, kind of the calm before a very active week. Let's go to Monday. Monday, we've got cool conditions locked in. High pressures up here trying to send in colder air off the Atlantic. And what happens here is it gets cool and drizzly toward the end of Monday. Monday night into Tuesday, this low pressure system is forming. It's snow on the north side. It's rain and a lot of it on the south side. And as we move forward here, Tuesday afternoon, that's when the pretty steady rain begins to settle in. But it's Tuesday night into Wednesday that it really just starts to come down really hard and heavy in Tennessee, in western North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, North Georgia. It is just absolutely pouring. And there's more wet weather and low pressures back toward the west. So Wednesday is probably our wettest day. That's when flooding would be possible. You get more than 1 inch of rain per hour and you get more than 4 inches of rain in a day, you're going to have flooding. And in this case, we have to look at the riverbanks around western North Carolina, East Tennessee, and in the upstate of South Carolina because they're not like they used to be. And Post Helene, there are a lot of temporary walking bridges that were kind of makeshift, just thrown up. They're not meant to withstand any kind of water. So if we get water to rise, that could be an issue in many locations. All right. So please take note of your surroundings and act accordingly this week. This is not going to be any kind of flooding like Helene. It's just this will be the first widespread flood threat we've had since that storm. So these new rivers, these new banks that have kind of found and carved out new paths are going to be tested here with some high waters. All right, I want you to know that. It's normal to get flooding several times a year, but here we go, first at least widespread one we've had since Helene. So moving forward, Wednesday night into Thursday, it is still just absolutely pouring. But here's the problem. There's a low pressure. It's a 999 low right here. Anytime you introduce in some twisting and turning of the winds in the atmosphere, that presents a severe weather risk, which is why I think there could be tornadoes in this area of Alabama, Mississippi, maybe even into Georgia. And the track of that low that night, this would be Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. If it's over West Tennessee, there's going to be a severe threat here in East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, North Georgia, maybe even the Western Carolinas. Be very, very close. But you also have cold air. But that clash of cold air right here with warm air trying to come in, there will be a boundary somewhere. And that boundary is probably where we'll find our chance for some very feisty storms. Like last week when we had that EF2 in Tennessee, it won't be for everybody. But those of us that get a storm, it could be an isolated severe weather incident. Okay, so not 5 EF2s, but maybe 1 or 2. That's the possibility moving into this week. You introduce a strong dynamic low pressure system and a couple of them, you're going to have wild weather from heavy rain and storms to ice and snow. This thing's going to rock a lot of people's world this week on the East Coast, through the Midwest, even into the Great Plains. I mean, this is some big time high impact snow. This thing's cranking Wednesday night into Thursday, tracking up across the Appalachian Mountains and dragging with it a front. This front, most of the dynamics, like I mentioned earlier, are up here. So the twisting, turning, severe weather, tornado threats would not happen because this is going to be colder air up here. But you have this trailing front that could present some gusty winds into Thursday morning. That passes through and you're thinking, okay, we're done. Not so fast, says the models. European and the GFS want to crank up another low pressure system next Saturday. This is a 1,003 low. Again, almost identical situation. You got a 1,003 low Saturday evening, and a week from today, and that would move up toward the north and east, and you got that twisting and turning. On that east side of that could be severe weather. That would be Saturday into Sunday of next week, and we'd have that trailing cold front come through with additional heavy rainfall. So let's talk totals, let's talk snow, let's talk severe weather. So here we are. Let's go back to our Wednesday. This is fuel for thunderstorms. So going into Wednesday, is when I see the first chance coming in. You got a couple of 100 joules of CAPE, which is not a lot here for the Western Carolinas. Maybe too cool and stable here. But you get into Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi, that's where you start getting closer to 1,000. And that's where we could have a higher severe weather risk. And then parts of Louisiana, Texas, 1,000, almost 2,000 CAPE. That's spring level type severe weather ingredients. And then going into Thursday, that threat shifts toward the south and east. Like I mentioned, the dynamics are up here and the instability and warmth is down here. So that passes on through. And then again, don't forget, we got another system developing almost identically a week from today, next Saturday. Look at how that storm fuel surges to the north yet again. Saturday into Sunday, same places, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe Georgia, and then again, right here on the periphery in the Western Carolinas. So Charlotte, Atlanta, Greenville, Asheville, needing to watch this situation. But again, it looks like the higher risks will be back here Saturday and a Sunday, and then that crosses through. And it looks like we do have a couple of cold fronts that are going to try to cool us down. In fact, let's peek at that. Surface temperatures, let's click anomaly. This will tell us if we're below normal or above normal. It looks like after that system next weekend, we cool down about 15 degrees below normal. And then going into the following week, we're warming back up, possibly another cold front coming through, 10, 15 degrees above normal. That front would cool us down by the 20th, and we'd spend a couple of days 5 to 10 degrees below normal. But I don't see any big pronounced major cool downs that would last for a very long time. By and large, it looks like flooding is going to be our biggest concern. And I've looked at the average of the computer models. They are spitting out some really high numbers, okay? And since this is the first widespread snow event or I should say rain event that we've had since Helene. We need to be dialed in on this. This model is showing northern parts of the upstate. That'd be Greenville County, Pickens County, Oconee County. If I look at my ledger down here, those are 6+ inches of rain in the course of a week. Along the I-85 corridor from Anderson to Greenville to Greer to Spartanburg area south, that's about 3 to 5 inches of rain in this area. So 3 to 5, 5 to 6, and then here in western North Carolina, not what you want to hear. Asheville and Hendersonville, you get maybe 3 to 4, but here in the western parts of the state, southwest mountains of North Carolina, Jackson, Haywood, into Swain County, Transylvania County, could get closer to 7 inches of rain. Tennessee, 8, 9 inches showing up. North parts of Georgia into Alabama, Mississippi, 8 inches possible. And that's rain over the course of about 8 days there. So hopefully it's spread out enough for a period of time. We have several of these systems coming our way that it wouldn't all be in about a 48-hour time frame. Let's look at snow totals, because while it's rain here in the south, really anywhere north of North Carolina, we're talking feet of snow possible here across Virginia. And then you get up here toward New England, add in some lake effect, and you got these several low pressures coming in. 31 inches of snow, 29 inches of snow. Boston up through parts of Vermont and New Hampshire, we're talking 21 to 30 inches of snow for Killington, Vermont, ski country up there, Burlington. Then you get into Maine, you're talking 27 to 30 inches of snow. Wow, feet of snow coming in as we move forward. But by and large, flooding is going to be a big concern. And like I've talked about, there's a storm risk. There's also that flood risk. And being that we're day 5 and the Weather Prediction Center has already issued a level 2 medium risk for flooding here across western North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, is a pretty big deal. There's still room for them to add a moderate high risk, which would be that red color, which if it were to be drawn here, would probably be somewhere in this area, because the mountains are going to wring out a lot of this moisture. So simply put, we need to stay dialed in this upcoming week, as it looks to remain very active across the area with multiple rounds of low pressure systems. Those low pressures bring 3 things. They bring a lot of rain. They bring a severe risk to someone. This is not March or April, so it wouldn't be a widespread statewide outbreak, but we would likely have a couple of pockets of some areas that would be vulnerable to tornadoes, like East Tennessee. Perfect example of that last week. I was watching it for our area, ready to go on TV as the storm system moved toward the Asheville area, but it was a tornado on the ground for a while from Nashville to Knoxville. All right, so we'll have pockets of severe weather. The third thing this brings, in addition to the heavy rain and the storm risk, is it brings a ton of snow to areas toward the north where it's cold enough to do that. The Midwest, New England, the Northeast, we're talking about several inches to several feet of snow in some locations. So this is one of those weeks you need to stay dialed in. If you're traveling, where we could have some travel delays, we could have some issues with storms and heavy rainfall across the area. And again, folks, please, it really helps me out. If you can, let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. Like this video wherever you're watching from and whatever platform you're on. And then subscribe to the channel if you don't already. This is kind of my jam. It's what I do here to give you updates on any kind of inclement or severe weather, and turn on notifications, the best way to stay informed of what's going on. And we'll look at it. We'll keep it up. We'll keep watching these severe alerts as we move forward here. There's plenty of them for winter weather from the Northeast up through New England. It's just one of probably 5 low pressure systems that are coming in one after another. One brings 5, 6 inches, another 5, 6 inches. Then you just get it day after day as we move forward here. But enjoy Sunday, folks. Sunday's going to be a very nice, calm, sunny day across a good bit of the Southeast. And then things change for us as it gets very wet next week. Stay tuned, everybody. I'll keep you posted.